Did you know you can rewrite your story? It's true. I've done it 100 times. I'm Kath Telford. I am a mum to 2 grown men. I'm a spirituality life coach and intuitive, and I also teach radical forgiveness. In my life, I've experienced trauma, loss, and insurmountable grief at times. I've worked through an eating disorder, sexual assault, and physical and mental abuse. But I'm still standing, and I'm happier and stronger than ever. My mission with this podcast is to create a community, a safe space where you can feel seen, heard, and above all else, loved. At the end of each episode, I will ask you a question and offer you a call to action. I will also tell you how you can get involved and share your stories. You'll be invited to ask me questions and make suggestions on what you want to hear. I will be having some incredible guests along the way, some amazing human beings that have overcome diversity in their life. They will share with you their stories and how they got to where they are now. We will cover everything from birth to death and the big dash in between, and all things spiritual and woo-woo, my favourite topic. This ride may get rough at times, so buckle up and let's go. Hello, my darling souls. How is everybody today? Welcome to yet another episode of You Can Rewrite Your Story. I have had an interesting week. I don't know if interesting is the right word. There's been a lot happening around my life. A lot of losses, friends that have been passing away, family members who are, sort of in the last stages of life-threatening illnesses. My eldest son is due to get out of jail in a few weeks' time. My youngest son has been dealing with some personal stuff. I've been dealing with some personal stuff. It's been a full-on week. And as always, it comes to the time when I'm going to sit down and record an episode, and I'm never quite sure what's going to come out. I'm not one of these people who sits down and writes a script for my podcast. That's not how it works for me. That's not how I want it to be. My idea for the podcast was to be true and authentic and raw, and literally just sit here and talk like I'm talking to an old friend over a drink or, a cup of herbal tea, whatever your jive might be these days. So the idea of sitting down and writing a script and trying to stick to that script and editing the videos and cutting parts out is just completely against my grain. I've never done life like that. I'm not about to start now at 59. So I know there are people, and I'm going to preface this statement by saying I really don't give a fuck, but I know there will be people out there going, oh my God, she's so unprofessional, or this isn't my thing, or I don't care. I really don't care. My whole reason behind recording this podcast is to, first and foremost, help to heal myself, help to uncover the things that I've stored deep inside of me that have molded who I've become over the years, that has formulated within me the script. There's that word. I wasn't going to do the script, but the script that I've lived by in my head more than anything. It's not something I sat down and wrote, something I'd planned, whatever. But the things that have happened to me throughout my life
literally have formulated that script. But I didn't write that script. That script was written for me. And the reason why I can't write a script for the podcast and actually choose not to write a script for the podcast is because I need to keep this as authentic as possible. And as things come to me, I want to be able to share them, and I don't want it to be something where, if by chance something that I say is not in chronological order to something, if someone's listening to this that's known me for all of my life and my life story inside out and back to front and timeline perfectly, by all means, you can write the script for me. And doesn't mean I'm going to stick to your script. The reason that I'm speaking on this subject at the moment about the chronological order and who has memories of my life better than me, I have been really dubious about sharing my podcast with family members. I have a couple of family members who I love because they're family, who tend to like to tell me when I have a memory about something, they tend to like to tell me that never happened, or I made it up, or whatever. And that used to really upset me. For a long time, that really upset me because it was like, well, but it did happen. I was there and I remember it happening. And what I've learned over the last 12 months is that they can't have been living my life with me. They weren't with me 24/7. They weren't with me 7 days a week. They weren't with me in all the timelines that I was living in with all the versions of me that were going on at once. They weren't with me in every group setting that I was in. And the reason that they probably don't know 90% of my stories is because I never trusted any of them enough to be able to share my stories with them. Reason being, because in the years growing up, if I did ever share something traumatic that had happened, it somehow was turned around that it was my fault and I made it happen, and that I was dramatic or whatever. So I shut down. There's a lot they don't know. And it's been bringing up a lot of fear around sharing this particular platform with them, this, part of me. And I've got I've got a person that does my social media, a lot of my social media for me, because I'm not exactly practiced on doing that. And I have had to hire someone to help me do it so that I can get it done properly. And because I don't want to look like an idiot online. And I want to do things properly. I want to get my story out there. And I want to be able to tell my truth without fear of judgment. So I've been a little bit, oh God, and as usual, I'm starting to ramble because all this stuff is coming up to me while I'm talking to you and it's all coming out. But the point I'm trying to make is that just because I've gotten to a point where I can sit down and record my podcast and run my business and put on events, in Melbourne at the moment, the reason I'm doing this is it's part of my healing. It's part of me accepting and learning to love who I am. And why would I share that with people who have been part of the trauma in my life? And once again, I'm going to preface this. Trauma doesn't necessarily mean that they have perpetrated anything malicious against me, intentionally malicious against me. Trauma is my response to what has happened to me. And, God, I keep saying I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert. I can only speak to my experience. I can only speak to how I feel, and I can only speak to how certain things have affected me in my life. And when you have people around you that constantly shut you down, who don't support you, who tell you that what you think, feel, believe, or do is wrong, you eventually stop trusting those people, because every time you're around them, it hurts. It hurts your soul. And I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be that, when you walk back into, or when I walk back into, I don't know what you do, I just know what I do. When I walk back into family situations at times, and I've said this before in other episodes, I automatically revert to that, scared, uncomfortable, nervous, anxious, needy, emotional person, because I've preempted walking into that environment what I'm going to be met with. I have preempted because I have 58 fucking years of experience of what I'm about to walk into. So all of that stuff that's stored in my body, all of those memories that are stored in my body of being told to shut up, or stop talking, or stop being so loud, or stop being so dramatic, or you're so emotional, or you're this, or you're that, all of that, in my opinion, in my body, is stored trauma. And I react from that stored trauma every time I'm back in that environment. So I choose not to be back in that environment. And that's a sad thing to say, because, I love my family. They're my family. And it's not all members of my family, because they're members of my family. I'm from a very big family. There are some members of my family who I absolutely idolize and want to be around all the time. I wish they lived closer. But there are certain members of my family that have made me feel that way. Now I didn't want to say those words, because nobody makes us feel anything. But for want of better words, there are members of my family that have made me feel that way. And, there's people in the world that will say, oh, no one can make you feel anything. It's your choice. You've got to take ownership. Well, that's fucking great. Thanks for your wisdom. And thanks for kind of diminishing how I'm feeling again by telling me how I'm supposed to be thinking, or how I'm supposed to be speaking. I am speaking from raw emotion when I'm saying this. So I'm not going to try and put a spiritual band-aid over it and say nobody can make you feel anything. It's like, that is how it seemed to be to me, that's how they made me feel. And that's how some of them still make me feel. And I don't like that version of me anymore. I don't want to be that version of me anymore. Not that I don't like that version of me, because, like I was chatting with my son, Joshy, the other day, and he was going through some stuff and bringing up things from his childhood, from memories that he's gotten. And he was saying how he wasn't sleeping well, and he was and the memories weren't all necessarily related to his family. It was, friendships and relationships and other things. And and as he was talking to me, this image came into my head, and I quickly grabbed a white pen, a marker out of the drawer, and I went to the board on the fridge and I drew cute little stick figures of him at each age. And I'm going, this is you at 5, and this is you at 8, and this is you at 13, and this is you at 18, and this is you at 21, and whatever. And then, the him who he is now, the stick figure, the stick figure that's 28 years old now, soon to be 29. And I said to him, without all of these little parts of you, there'd be no foundation to hold up that big part of you that you are now. And it sort of resonated for me as I was saying it, because it made sense to me. Like, I've got a lot more little parts of me because I've got 30 years on him. So I don't dislike any parts of me. I don't dislike who I've been before. I just choose not to be that version of me again in some cases. In most cases, I mean, fuck, we don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards. We want to live our lives developing as human beings and operating from a space of love and clarity and, enlightenment, whatever words you want to use. That's what the aim is. So every time I go back into a family situation and that version of me pops its ugly little head out and goes, hello, I'm back. Today, I just want you to sit in the corner and verbally diarrhea all over everybody because your anxiety is so high that you just want attention, or you've reverted back to that person that you were, that everyone's always telling to shut up, and you're too loud and telling you to shush when you speak too loud, and cutting you off when you're trying to tell something. I become that person automatically around these certain family members. I don't want to do that anymore. I actually don't want to do that anymore because I am so much more than that version of me. And I always was so much more than that version of me. So, like, I was just on Instagram before doing my live feed that I try and do as often as I can. And I was talking about, how are we going to go woo-woo? We're going to go woo-woo. We're going to go a little bit woo-woo today. I hear, once again, can't tell you what you hear, what you see, what you think. I hear people talking about, there's multiple timelines and there's simultaneous things happening all at once, that different versions of you. It did not make any freaking sense to me. I was really struggling to get a grasp of what that meant when people talk about this concept of multiple timelines, and it came to me today, quite clearly. It came to me today when I was doing my live, and these things come to me as I'm saying them, which kind of blows me away sometimes, because as they're coming through me, I'm getting it. It just doesn't necessarily translate out to you guys as, oh, that's clear. It's clear as mud in some cases, but it's making sense to me. And it's like, I'm going to use the term higher self because I can. It's like my higher self, that other version of me, the highest version of me, the more enlightened, empowered, switched on version of me is going, yeah, you know this shit. You've got it. The multiple timelines thing. So here was my analogy today, and I'll try and make it make sense for you guys. So there are different versions of us in different scenarios, in different things that are happening in our life at any one time. So there might be, let's give you some examples. So there's the office version of me, which I'm just going to put a quick overlay over this. I'm pretty much myself everywhere I go. I'm a little bit kooky, a bit loud. Well, let's say I'm a lot kooky and I'm a lot loud. I'm very bubbly. I'm very vocal. I don't take no for an answer very easily with people because to me, there's always a way around the situation. And I'm passionate and and at times I probably offend people. Although I don't really ever get told that I offend people, because people kind of know me well enough to know that when I'm speaking my mind, I'm doing it from a place of love. And it's just, when people say to you, I'm just brutally honest. I was having this conversation with my gorgeous friend Andrea the other day. I'm just brutally honest. No, you're not. You're just an asshole. You're just a brutal asshole. When someone tells me I'm just brutally honest, I'm just like, no, you're just an asshole. I try not to be an asshole. I try not to be brutally honest. I speak from a place of love, and that's not me just excusing, because sometimes I might say things that people go, fuck, that was a bit rough. Anyway, so back to the different versions of me. So how I am at the office, for example, if I still was working in an office, which I'm not, to how I am around, say, elderly people, to how I am around this group of friends, to how I'm around this group of friends, to this group of friends. Back in the day, before I got more comfortable with who I am now, every scenario had a different version of me. Every place I was in had a different version of me. And I used to find that I would have to tame the beast over here. I'd have to tame the beast in this situation. I'd have to, watch my P's and Q's in that situation. I'd have to, oh, God forbid, I'd, speak up over in this situation, or God forbid. So there were different versions of me going on simultaneously in my life. And so something just came to me, which I will share, because to me, this kind of is relevant to what I'm saying. I can remember being away one weekend with a girlfriend of mine who I'd grown up with. My kids were little. We'd gone to stay with one of my brothers. One of those brothers, one of the ones that tends to shut me down a lot. And we were sitting outside and we're chatting and the kids were playing. And my brother said to my friend, I don't know how you put up with her. She's such hard work, or something to that ilk, something in that vein. And I'm like, could you imagine how gutted I felt to have my brother say that to one of my friends? Wasn't very nice. And my girlfriend looked at him and she said, oh my God, we don't see that. We see how amazing she is. We see how amazing Kath is, and that's why she's our friend. Like, we don't see that person that you see. So that's kind of what I mean. It's my family see this version of me because when I'm with them, that version of me comes back out, because that was, and I don't know when it changed. I used to think that the way they treated me changed when my marriage broke up. I used to feel that it was because they all thought, oh, fucking hell, he was the best thing since sliced bread, and now she's done it again. And but I figure if that was the reaction that they had to my marriage breaking up, then their feelings about me and who they saw me as was there from a long time ago, how they looked at me. And once again, it comes back down to they didn't know what was going on in my personal life because I didn't trust any of them enough to tell them. I actually didn't want any of it. I'm going to cry, and I try not to cry when I did not want to tell any of them what was happening to me, because there was a part of me that knew that they would shame me or tell me it was my fault that any of these things happened. You bring it on yourself. these kind of things. So they only ever saw that version of me. And I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. I have chosen this year and since last year, since Christmas, to not put myself in any more family situations with certain family members. I will see them in a one-on-one, but it's like they're like a herd of hyenas when they're around each other. It's certain members of my family feed off the negativity of other members of my family. And when they're one-on-one, when I'm one-on-one with them, I don't feel that. I don't have that sensation inside of my body that makes me terrified to be in that environment. But when they're together, it's I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. There was a situation 6 years ago, just over 6 years ago, I think it is now, where one of my sisters passed away. She had a brain tumor that progressed extremely rapidly, and she was gone very quickly. And I'm not going to go into the full story today because it warrants more than just a 10-minute introduction to the story. But there was a lot of things that happened around that time with my family that I haven't healed from. And I don't know if I'll ever heal from them. But I was treated appallingly by certain members of the family, and no one had my back. Nobody had my back. So I know I always do this. Say, oh, that's all I'm going to talk about today. And it is what I'm going to all I'm going to talk about today. There are so many different versions of me that were happening simultaneously in different scenarios of my life at the same time over the years. So when anyone ever says to me, ever again, that never happened, God help them. Fuck me. I wish it didn't happen. I wish a lot of what I went through didn't happen. But it did. And it's helped to make me the person that I am today. And I'm really fucking proud of that person. And I'm really grateful for that person, because that person, that version of me, was always there. She was always there in the background. Because had she not been, all those other little versions of me wouldn't have made it through. So I'm signing off today. I'm a bit of a basket case now. And you can rest assured that some of the episodes coming up are going to really get raw. Not that they haven't already, but this is a healing process for me. And I know I keep saying that, but being able to get on here and just talk to this microphone, and to those of you that are listening, it's such a healing process for me. It really is. And I'm also going to finish today's episode with a shout out. One of my dearest, dearest friends, Andrea, who will slap me stupid for the words I'm about to say. But she's in the fight for her life. And she's one of those friends that has been through a lot with me. We've been through a lot separately from each other. And we lost track over the years and we found each other again and we're back in with each other as thick as we could be. And we have been for the last 10 years back together. Angie's going through some stuff at the moment. There's stuff happening to her body from that shit god-awful fucking thing called cancer. And I know that she'll listen to this episode because she's one of my number one fans and number one supporters, as I am of hers. So I love you, my beautiful, beautiful girl. And we're in this and we're going to get through this and just stay strong. That's all I can say. One of the amazing things that she said to me the other day when I went to sit with her at the hospital was that she's not going to identify with this insidious disease. She's not going to speak the words that she's fighting this, she's struggling with cancer or she's battling cancer, that she doesn't want to identify with this hideous disease. And I'm right up there with her. This disease does not have to become her. She is bigger than this. She is one of the strongest people I know. And I've got you, girl. I've got you. And I'm so grateful to you for the friend that you've been to me for the last 40-something years. Thanks for listening, guys. And I'll try not to be so emotional next episode. I love you all. And as always, I'm so grateful that you listen and you continue to come back and listen. And for those of you I know that are sitting out there with that box of tissues, because you've told me that some of these episodes bring you to tears. I fucking love you. I love you all. So thanks, guys. Signing off. Talk soon. Bye.
So thank you for listening to today's podcast. I am so, so grateful for each and every one of you. To get in touch with me regarding any of my episodes, you will find me on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok at Kath Telford Empowerment Coach. I love you. Bye.